Welcome to episode 14 of the Young Adult's Guide to Planet Earth, a podcast where we try to figure out life through good conversation. I'm your host, Clayton Hamrick, and joining me as always is Sid Warren. What's up, Sid?
How's it going? Good to be here.
Yeah, it is good to be here. Hunter. We have Hunter. What's up, Hunter?
Pretty good, man.
I didn't say how are you, I said what's up.
Yeah, I think we have a problem with this
fan.
intro because every time I get awkward, and I'm not that awkward of a person, so... What should I... How do I respond? How's it going? So I'd be like...
Change up the,
I guess I could be like, it's awesome. I'm doing great. But I feel like that's ingenuine.
We'll figure it out later.
I am doing awesome, though.
You just gotta say something different every single time. Like,
Yeah.
For me, it's terrible.
That'd be good.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about the future. And the reason we're going to be talking about this is because we've been sitting here for about 30 minutes before we decided to start the podcast talking about the future, and we were like, hey, let's just talk about this on the podcast. So we're going to edit some stuff in. It might sound a little weird. I don't know.
We're going to do a flashback segment. About
So, all right.
25 minutes of us talking before this.
All right, so flashback. There was a guy on Joe Rogan recently that was explaining why communism doesn't work, and it's basically because there's too many people.
That's where they tell you what to do, like you do this job type thing?
Well,
No.
it's basically... It is what they did in hunter-gathering places. Like, communism was so prevalent in the old days, like, it was just normal. Like, even the women would share their bodies with other men, and then 5 or 6 men would be taking... Like, it was the whole village taking care of the children. It wasn't like a kid running around... And then, whose kid is this? It's more like, I gotta protect this child.
Oh, okay.
It's all about equity and equality.
Gotcha.
So everybody, doctors make the same as artists.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And yeah, also that too.
And so the way they do that is government stipends. Like if you're an artist, you get paid by the government so that you have the same amount as the doctor does or whatever.
Gotcha.
But it doesn't work in large populations like America because we need capitalism in order for our economy to work. It's a big, I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like a scale.
But the guy on Joe Rogan was saying
who are you talking?
I can't remember. I think it was a guy that was talking about the liberalism on Twitter and stuff. The same dude. But he was saying the people that really believe in communism are the people that are like, why don't we do this? Or hippies who live in a commune with 60 other hippies. It works there. It's fine.
Yeah.
But then because he was also talking about going forward, because Star Trek is kind of a communist society because they've gotten to a point where they don't need people to work. They're totally automated in every area they can be. So when that, because I was seeing last night, Taco Bell's got a new app where you can order your food and go. You don't even have to talk to anybody. They put it in a lockbox, almost like a post office.
Wow.
It's heated and everything. You go pick it up.
Yeah.
That eliminates a job, right?
Yeah.
So in the future, there's gonna be so many jobs that we have now, probably millions of jobs that aren't gonna exist because of automation, and that's okay because that's progression, and whatever. So, but we got to figure out a different way to go about.
Yeah, there'll be more jobs in factories building the machines.
There'll be less jobs in factories overall because most
Oh,
factory
because it'll be
jobs-
more automated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I listened to a podcast about that specific thing of people losing their jobs from automation, and it was talking about he was referring to Elon Musk when he had a conversation with him, but they were basically talking about how they were actually pointing out every area. Oh well, actually it might have been the same person you're talking about because they did talk about Twitter, and also they talked about the what is it called? Learn code. Have you heard this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, all right, basically learn code is the same way as they're actually banning this from Twitter, or I think, right?
Yeah. If you hashtag learn code, you can get banned from Twitter right now.
It's like saying gay on Battlefield 2. It's if you say gay, you're not going to be able to see it.
But and learn code means somebody trying to advertise education for
No, it's not
coding.
about advertisement.
It's basically, for example, truck drivers in the future are not going to have jobs because automated.
It was
trucks
mainly
are gonna
coal miners that they were talking about.
Oh yeah, and coal miners.
So all these coal miners are losing their jobs.
The Yang dude. That's his name.
And so like a lot of people were like,
Yeah.
it is driven by like companies who are like teaching code and whatever, but also just regular like journalists will be like, oh, you're not a coal miner anymore, just go learn code.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of like a demeaning thing of like, these coal miners have spent their whole lives building these skills that they have, and we're just like, oh, whatever, just go learn this other skill.
Yeah.
Even though you're 50 years old and like.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That is pretty insensitive.
And they were talking about like what would happen in the future. They were talking about truck drivers blocking the roads until they get like making a union and like trying to fight the roadblock trucks and stuff. The only example.
That's a good movie plot.
That's why they got to learn code so they can fight the robot
There you
trucks.
go.
The only example I've seen of actual automated trucks on a movie was Logan, the X-Men movie.
Yeah.
And if you
I don't-
watch, they're on the road, and then all of a sudden, I think there was a truck behind him, and it like something happened, and he had to get off the road because the truck wouldn't slow down. It was just coming, and then they couldn't get back on the road because the trucks are, and they're all like automated. It was showing them, and they didn't have like a regular seating. Like it just looked like pretty much like a nose.
Well, have you seen the Tesla trucks?
No, I didn't know there was Tesla trucks.
Oh, dude, they're already selling them to companies.
They're not fully automated though, are they?
Yeah.
How close are we
completely
to
and totally.
this?
But that's not it's not allowed it's not illegal.
It's not
it is.
allowed yet.
It's illegal. It's legal in some areas.
Yeah, but
Like to just drive around wherever they want.
Yeah, and it's going to become legal in Europe before it does in America.
yeah. And here's the thing: they're still gonna have people in those cars, but just
No.
like safety backups. And then 10 years later, they're not gonna have
Yeah, in the
anybody at
future
all.
they're not. But
Well-
but a lot of them are like drones too, where it's somebody sitting behind a screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what
So
they
they
were
still
talking
have a
about.
job, but I don't know.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think about this, but it's not as crazy as you think. Because AOL and slow internet, it took you like 30 seconds to download a picture. Now you have Instagram. You just look at your
Well,
phone.
see,
Yeah.
I've always thought about this, like way back in the day, even because I'm into sci-fi, and when I see Star Trek, I'm like, wow, this is gonna happen someday. We're gonna have a society where, like, a ton of people literally don't have jobs. We just gotta like, because like, we're gonna be able to collect resources so efficiently. Like, we don't need jobs. We don't need an economy. Like, they don't have money in Star Trek because they don't need it. And I mean, that's a long way off, but
What scares me is the fact that like sci-fi inspires other people to invent things that are sci-fi and then they become reality. So like all the old sci-fi movies have a lot of inventions in today's world, and today's world is looking at more and more stuff in the future, like time travel and like the Arrival movie and like all these other crazy like sci-fi movies. And then you look 20 years later from now, you're like what's the difference in the movies? Like look at Star Trek, for instance, the communicator he has, and then like Power Rangers, they had like little circles with like it looked like a grill, and they're like do 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 do, and they're hello. But now we can do that with like my watch. It's
So I see it
It's
like
insane.
widening the divide between like the poverty and the rich people, because the rich are gonna have jobs that are making them a lot of money, and the
It'll
poor
widen-
people aren't gonna have a job.
it'll go to like a two-class system.
Yeah.
The rich, and then everybody else.
The job and the jobless.
But
almost.
everybody else, even though there's that divide, everybody else is gonna be comfortable because they're gonna have everything provided for them.
I think
Who's
if you
gonna
have a
provide it?
two-class system
The
though,
government?
Yeah.
these rich people, I don't think it's going to stop there. I think the rich are going to try to be as rich as possible to where they become gods. Like Altered Carbon, have you seen this?
Yes.
It's the rich get so rich
Yeah, I know.
that they literally go up into the sky, and then they have houses in the sky, and then like they
But-
basically look at themselves as gods.
But this goes back to like, what about feudal England, where you had England was divided up into a bunch of different small princedoms that were governed by dukes. They were all ultimately governed by the king, but then within the duke's land, he provided for his peasants, right?
Yeah.
And this isn't a great example because some of them had horrible lives, and the thing about that is it was a lot of disease and a lot. So now that we're over that, why can't that happen again? Where we have a lot of rich people, and I'm not saying I'm totally for this or anything, but like,
I just
and-
don't understand how it would work, because you're always going to have a bad guy now.
Well, that's the only thing is that there's always the people in power are always like evil
Even if they are good,
because they get corrupted. Yeah, I know.
yeah, like you can look at somebody as being evil just by having more stuff than you. It is jealousy and human emotions that makes that happen.
I think there's always going to be a solution, though. I mean, like, think about when the printing press was invented or some kind of revolutionary thing. People probably thought the same thing, but we always adapt. I mean, we came from, like, living in little colonies, and now we have cities that people never would have imagined before.
Yeah, we always adapt, but it's not necessarily a good thing that we adapt to that thing.
I'm just worried about overpopulation, because it's exponential.
Well, they're already talking about eugenics and stuff like that.
I think they should go underground.
Who?
We should. Like,
We're gonna go up because like
We're going to space, man.
But I just love
No.
the idea of like having these underground people that are misshapen and like,
But Clayton's right.
and then
we're
having two breeds of people.
we're gonna go up because it's Coruscant.
I know, because
Star
you can just
Wars.
build
no,
huge
I'm
buildings.
saying like skyscrapers and stuff. Like
Yeah.
There's a
one,
lot
one
of
of these
land
days,
left.
Lawndale might have like 100-foot buildings.
That's why you invest in real estate.
I'm gonna give it that 1,000 years before they put.
Well, I mean, no
skyscraper
kidding, like-
here.
That's kind of the solution to overpopulation.
Yeah.
But well,
Well, that's what Elon Musk said about traffic. He said build up. And he said it's actually
he
harder.
wants to go down. He wants to go
Well, yeah,
tunnels.
tunnels. But he was saying like, it's actually easier. Like they're talking about flying cars. No, it's easier and way more simpler to build a
Yeah.
road that goes over a road than to have a flying car because
Well,
it's
that already
so much
exists,
more
though.
expensive.
Like overpasses that already
Yeah,
exist.
yeah. But I'm talking about like more and more buildings of like
well,
double
the
roads.
the real problem is not the space we have; it's the resources we have.
Yeah.
Like we don't have like good, efficient, renewable sources of energy, and
That'll be invented though.
that's the next step of like if we're gonna get to that type of society, we need to have infinitely renewable energy. Like
Yeah.
if we can learn how to harvest energy from the sun or something, and like
Yeah.
never.
But we can't. I just feel like the biggest thing right now is getting these corporate people out of the way, because you got gas companies pushing and pushing and pushing against these electric car companies. Then you got power, like solar people, and you got the energy companies that are pushing.
But that's a good thing. That's capitalism. If that didn't exist, then the electric car companies will just run rampant, and then they would be the ones who are evil and making their electric cars cost $100,000 and everything.
True.
They have to be held back by the gas companies.
But I feel like Elon one day is going to make it like Ford did, where it's affordable to everyone.
Well, see, yeah, but eventually, the reason it's okay is because eventually gas goes away altogether, and then everything's electric, and then there's competition within that market.
Yeah, but hopefully it's a good transition. Like, it's as simple as like, okay, well, there's no more gas. Let me go buy an electric car. So I guess.
But the problem with that is finding the renewable sources of energy, because as of right now, I mean, we're charging our cars, but
We don't have anything to charge them with.
we're charging it based off our old technologies of like coal mining and wind and all these
Electric, yeah.
more inefficient.
All right, we're back after the flashback. Welcome.
So what were we talking about? We were talking about like renewable energy and
Electric
cars, and
Elon Musk.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, Clayton mentioned earlier how he really likes sci-fi. I do too, and I just think of the future as like cool. Like when I think future, it's just like there's so many opportunities, so many things that could happen. It's also like dismal, as many sci-fi movies paint it, as like everything is demolished, and like I just watched a movie
That's
called
become its own movies, John.
Yeah, it has.
Like Armageddon.
Well, there's one called Paycheck with Ben Affleck, and basically like it's in the future. He develops a time machine, and he looks like 10 years into the future and sees that the whole world's going to be imploded, but it's basically because the time machine was invented that it did implode. So it's like as technology progresses, it's what actually causes the end, which I think is reasonable. Like
I think
I
that
feel
makes
like
sense.
that could be
Well-
how it happens. Like somebody's like, I've developed this chemical mixture. Let me combine them, and then like he doesn't realize it, but he just accidentally created the most powerful bomb in existence and blows the whole Earth up. Like
Definitely.
that's
That makes
plausible,
sense.
right?
That definitely could happen.
Like the
Yeah.
time continuum. I mean, we don't know. It's all theoretical, but like, yes, in essence, like if you went back in time and like touched like I don't know your grandpa and like or said, hey,
Yeah, time travel is a whole nother thing.
yeah, like
that's
the grandfather paradox is what I'm talking about. If
Yeah.
you went and shook your grandfather's hand when he was a child or something, like what would happen? would your atoms like freak out and blow up? Would you like nothing happen and
Yeah.
we just like make up all this in our heads, or would the whole like universe reset itself? Like, whoa, this ain't gonna happen. Nope. And it just like you said.
Well, here's the
implodes.
thing. So like everything that exists on the planet right now has existed since the beginning of the planet, right? So if I went back in time, the atoms and molecules that I'm made up of
Yes.
have to come from somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So like it might be a rock in the middle of the desert, or it could be like another human. So if I go back in time, all of my atoms have to come from somewhere, right? So like,
Yeah.
how does that
This
work?
is too
Or
much.
it might.
What
You
the
might
heck?
be like going back in time adds atoms to the past that should never
No,
be there.
I don't
And
think
so
so.
the whole thing just blows up because it's like, whoa, this is new stuff.
Or that could be the solution to the resource problem. We could take resources back in time, and if it creates new atoms and new molecules, then
Well,
we just keep taking stuff back in time.
there might be
Yeah.
a way to do that because if there are wormholes, they just don't know how they work. So
Yeah,
if they
and who's going to be the
theoretically-
first guy to be like, yeah, I'll go in that wormhole?
Well, see, it can't work for us
I would do
because
it.
we would be
No,
spaghettified.
dude.
That's true.
No,
I have somebody I care about. If
Look,
I didn't,
that's
I
the
would
thing.
totally do it.
That's what everybody
Let me
says.
stop you right there. It's even if we go through a wormhole, black hole, whatever, we're gonna be spaghettified because it just our molecules will be. It's like taking putty and pulling it by the very tip of it, and if it all miraculously stays together, and you pull it through a small hole,
Yeah.
and then you get to the other side. It's literally like you become like a noodle, and you go through it. And if by a miracle you come out the other side all regenerated and everything, then okay. But
Well, we got to test it, man.
I would just see like on the other side of space, just like blood splurting out of nowhere. Just
Is this how spaghetti's made?
no.
I've never really
Through
looked into that
wormholes.
But, like,
process.
The whole thing with the black hole is that's what they say is like it's got so much gravity that like let's pretend there's like a theoretical barrier, and you put your finger through that barrier, it'll start like taking your skin and ripping into like spaghetti, and it'll just suck you through if like. And the cause of that is because it's so hard to explain, but like if you watched what's the space movie with all right, what's his name?
Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey. What is the movie? Horizon? No,
Interstellar?
Interstellar. They literally jump through.
That's a good movie
They
right there.
are 4 hours on the planet, but the guy that's off the planet is like 40 years
Yeah.
older, and so like
Do you
that's
guys,
how massive gravity is.
Yeah.
And so
did you guys understand the like ending? Because I feel like
okay, that was it. It
left a
lost
lot
me
of-
after
yeah.
he went through the black hole.
The ending was the worst part of the movie.
Yeah, it just
I wanted it to be great, and like to me it was cool because I didn't fully understand it, so I just left it at that. But
well everything up to the point of him falling into the black hole was basically what all scientists believe.
really,
Even like the whole
Well, that's why the ending.
portal.
That's why I didn't like the ending, because everything was based off like real science until the ending, where they're like, "All right, here's where it becomes fiction. When he falls in the black hole, we obviously have no idea what happened, so let's just create something." And then it was like they just tried to make this sentimental thing, like he could go back and communicate with his daughter, and it was just
Yeah.
like,
it was interesting though. I
yeah.
mean, it is science fiction.
No,
when
it was
comes down
interesting,
to
but
it.
Let's
like-
just say he survived that black hole experience. He would still be. He would literally, if he came back out, he wouldn't have changed. Let's just say that. The whole thing about that would be, as everything else would be like a million years older than him. So there's no way I feel like he would.
You don't even have to go through a black hole for that to be true. If you get in a spaceship and travel a light year away, and then you come a light year back,
Yeah,
no matter if a wormhole is involved or not, then the Earth is going to be older.
yeah, and you can't. That's why.
Obviously, we can't do that right now,
Yeah.
but
Well, the Earth is older because you pass time traveling, right? I mean, not because anything else happened.
Well,
because time travels faster in space.
Yeah.
Like, the farther away from the Earth,
it's all about gravity
Really?
and
Yeah.
space and like.
So let's say you could travel instantaneously, there would be extra time added that you would have missed. Let's say you could be there
Yes.
and back in no time at all. You would have missed time.
yes.
Wow.
Well, even the guy that's been on the International Space Station more than any other astronaut is like a Russian dude, and he is a millisecond or something
Oh,
like
yeah.
that
I've heard
younger
that.
than everybody on Earth, because while he was up there, which that's very close to the Earth in comparison to what I'm talking about, but
Yeah.
like the Earth was moving faster than he was
Yeah.
in time.
But it's just relative, right? So like
Yeah.
wherever you're at in space,
Yeah.
you are at your time.
Yeah.
Well,
So if you travel a light year away, you're still aging, like you're saying, relative to you.
Yeah.
But then you travel back, like the Earth is like however many million years ahead.
Yeah.
So what
Really
if you could
confusing.
like go 1,000 light years away and come back instantaneously, you could travel into the future.
Yes.
Interesting.
The
But you
thing-
couldn't
That's
go
why-
back. I mean,
Well, that's what a lot of people talk about. Let's build a time machine, time travel thing. It's only going to be able to be traveled. Only going to be
Yeah,
able to
to the
travel to the
future.
future. You
Yeah.
can't travel backwards.
Unless there has been some theories that have been said about like I gotta think about this. It's some kind of weird stuff with like it's not even traveling anymore. It's more like interstellar. Like it's not interstellar travel, but like interdimensional or something like that. Like they dimensional travel, and so they blip out of existence and go back into it. That's another theory of
yeah.
like travel.
Well, if to go forward in time, you have to go farther away. To go back in time, you'd have to get closer to yourself. And that's why we always advocate introspection on this channel. Just
So you
kidding.
can go back in time.
No, but I mean, the opposite way would be closer. So like maybe interdimensional is the answer, like going deeper into dimensions in your area. I don't know.
Well, the whole
That-
thing of
yeah.
dimensions is crazy in itself. Like the fact that there's other dimensions and we can't even go there.
You know, the funniest thing, like the funniest movie trope to me of people traveling back in time is like in one of the original Superman movies when he just flies around the
my
Earth
God.
in
Oh,
the
yeah.
opposite direction and it spins backwards.
Mhm.
The only reason they
It
did
doesn't
that,
make any sense. Like literally,
I mean,
it doesn't make any sense
it
at
would
all.
make sense if time. All right.
Well, time.
Let me try to explain
The rotation of the Earth doesn't
this. Yeah,
dictate time.
it doesn't. But I'm not talking about literal time. I'm talking about like on paper time. Like if he went around the Earth the opposite way, technically he would be spinning the opposite way, and the Earth going the way it's going every time it spins one time it's a day. So if he went backwards, I guess they thought that like he would be traveling back
I
in
understand
time.
what they were going with it, but
Because you can technically do that in a plane. When you travel back in time, technically, you change time zones. And so technically you change time.
In that Paycheck movie, their concept of looking into the future was they had a lens powerful enough to see around the curvature of the Earth, and then you could see yourself at instant speed, like through the glass from around the Earth, and
Yeah.
that was like their theory about how.
That would actually be possible. Because if you look at another galaxy, you see the reflection of the light, and that light is hitting us. But if it's a light year away, that means it's a million years older than what we're seeing than it actually is.
But there'd be a lag, so you'd actually be seeing yourself in the past.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you
Yeah.
could
But
actually
it would
see
only
yourself in
be
the past
a
if
few
you could
days.
figure out how to reflect light from like a distant sun and then reflect it back, or put a mirror out in space, like a light year away, and then looked
Yeah.
at it.
That would be
Yeah.
a way for people in
That
the
would
future
blow
to see like
my
into the
mind.
past a little
yeah,
bit.
so you can't travel to the past, but you can see the past.
But here's the thing, that's why we
Holy
have
crap.
YouTube, because you can literally just take videos of yourself and
Yo,
post them for people to see in the
Let's
future.
just talk about this. All right.
So I don't see the purpose of
Would
that.
you be
there is
seeing
no
the
real point. I don't
would you
think.
be seeing the future or the past if you put a mirror in space and you looked at its reflection?
the past, because it takes time to get back to you.
Okay, so you're looking at. So the light.
Okay, imagine throwing
yeah,
a ball at that
you
wall.
Would, yeah, you'd be looking at the past.
It's
You're
gonna
right.
come to you. Wait, now
Yeah.
I'm confusing myself.
Yeah,
I was trying to
it's really-
oversimplify
It's
it.
really hard, but yeah, you would be looking at the past because you got to think about how light travels.
Yeah.
If you're looking at something
Well,
and it's
technically,
reflecting your light, then it's reflecting old light.
technically, every time you look in a mirror, you're looking at a previous version of yourself. Because the time that it takes for the light to travel and your eyes to comprehend what you're seeing, it's, I don't know, a millionth of a millisecond. It's obviously not that, but it's literally in the past.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So we came back, we were talking about like energy and Tesla, and we went on
is
this crazy
space,
yeah.
tangent about time travel.
Which is what you kind of expect.
Dude.
I mean, there's a lot of cover in the future. I mean,
It's really cool. I always love time.
So like when it comes to the future, like let's say 100 years from now. Well, let's not say that. Let's say something more reasonable. So we're in our 20s. Let's say we lived our mid 80s because medicine's going to get better. The average age is going to go up. So that's 60 years from now. What's like one thing that y'all want to see in 60 years?
virtual reality.
That would kill our world, man.
We already got kinetic suits now. Did you know this?
I did.
Yeah, we have everything that they have in Ready Player One.
People, that's gonna kill
Except
people.
the software.
Except the software. You can't literally like
The treadmill he's on at the beginning of that movie, I think, is they already have that treadmill, like the
I've seen
omnidirectional
that.
treadmill. Yeah,
Yeah, but I feel like that's gonna ruin everybody.
that's definitely going to be in the future.
We're all
I know
just
it.
we're
I
all
know
just
it.
gonna live in the game. Like that's
But-
Ready Player One though. That's the movie.
but if
for you.
somebody like him is like he shuts it down a couple days a week,
Yeah. Okay.
Still though, like think about it. Let's just seriously let's think about this for a second. What do we do to make ourselves? Why do we make ourselves better?
why do we make ourselves better?
Yes.
What do you mean?
All right, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Okay, so a lot of males are good people because if they're not good people, they don't impress other females. They don't get friends. They go to jail. They do all these bad things happen to them because they don't learn how to act in the real world. But if you get a person and you put them in the VR world and they do whatever they want, then they don't have to live in the real world, and so they don't even have to like they don't have to have a girlfriend because they can have 5 in the virtual reality world. And if they can if you can hook it up something to your brain like the Matrix, then what would be the point in being a good person anymore? You could literally
Yeah,
be your
that's
own
true.
worst person.
There's no accountability.
Well, no, that
Yeah, no accountability, no responsibility, no nothing. You just have free control of whatever you want at any time,
Well, that's
any
where
place.
religion comes in, and you have faith, and you.
But
Yeah.
it wouldn't matter in the VR world if you were a murderer or whatever, because you're not murdering real people.
That's psychological though. I mean,
But
that'll
yeah,
change you.
once you kill somebody, there's a
if it feels
33%
real.
chance you can do it again. I'm just
Yeah.
making that. I don't know. I just made that up.
Some random number.
But
Yeah. What about like
goes up
GTA?
higher.
If there's a GTA VR that was like actually good, that would screw people
well,
up.
I'm getting to the point of the Matrix. Like if they make the Matrix, then like maybe you could save people from dying in real life.
Well, they're not even
But
conscious
you would
of
just
it.
be making killers in a fake world, and then like, what if they get mad at somebody in the real world and they're like, "I'm gonna kill you," because they can't tell.
It's
the
like
difference
Sword Art
between-
Online,
Yeah,
when the guy in the second season
they literally
starts
become.
murdering people.
Yeah, and they don't have like, because the whole sense of that is the social structure has put in consequences of messing up really badly. But if you mess up really
Well, the
badly,
consequences still exist in the real world. They just don't exist in the VR world.
yeah, and if there wasn't consequences in the VR world, then you would do it over and over again. And then I feel like once you do it in the VR world and you do it over and over and over again, as long as you have, I mean, you could argue the point about video games, but like how even kids play killer games, but there's still.
I think it all goes back to the argument of, do we have this innate sense of good and evil?
Yeah.
Are we born knowing what's good and what's evil? Which I personally believe that we do. That we are guided by God, even if there's somebody who doesn't believe in God and lives in the middle of Africa in a remote tribe, has never heard of anything else in the world. They have this sense of good and evil because they were created by God, right?
Yeah.
So then even if someone's born and they only ever live in the VR world, why would they even ever want to murder? Why would
Well, what you're saying is that everybody has that conscience, but they also have a tendency to lean one way or the other. And I think the way that we lean kind of automatically is towards the evil side. I think everybody does understand like that there's good and evil in the world, but
Yeah, I think you have to be taught good before you learn that evil's bad.
because it's so easy, and the reason for that is
toddlers
because it's
kick
easy.
and bite and scream
be
all
bad.
the time.
Well, that's not the same. That's more of an instinct
Well,
to
all right,
get
look
what
at-
they need.
I know this is going to be bad, but look at apes. They're instinctually evil-looking things. Not evil-looking. They literally rip each other to shreds when they get mad at each other. And, like, I'm not comparing us to them. I'm just saying, like, we still have that in humans where you have criminals that do that for fun. And there's something wrong with their heads. Where was I going with this? I just lost my train of thought. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying that I think we have access to good and evil, and we choose evil instinctually
Yeah.
because it's the easiest thing.
Yeah, it's easier to be
I don't think
evil
we
than
choose
good.
evil. I think where evil is pushed upon us.
Choose wasn't the right word. I just mean, you know how an animal has an instinct?
Yeah, it's
Sometimes I
instinctual to
think
be
we
bad.
act instinctually to do something that's considered evil when we don't have that guidance, just because sometimes that is the easiest way out, both physically, emotionally, just to like, for an ape, just to kill the thing they're having a problem with. Like, when it comes down to like just data and numbers, like it is the best way to deal with that might just be to kill that thing. But when you bring God into it, that's where God brings grace and teaches
Yeah.
us a better way to do things. And
But if we have a sense of what's right and what's wrong, and then we do the wrong thing, do we not also have an innate sense of guilt?
yeah,
what if we're
or
never
people
taught
that
good,
lend
though?
themselves to what is good. I think some people just embrace the evil, but
But-
that's kind of a
But
basket
I
case.
say they I'm saying like you a baby has never interacted with the world and only interacts with VR. Even if they do something evil, they're still going to feel guilty.
If somebody doesn't realize they're in VR and they don't use VR as an outlet to do the things they can't do on Earth, then it's just like being born on Earth. I don't think there's any
Well,
difference.
no,
Yeah.
because you're born into the VR world where people do bad things because it doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. I was thinking more about Sid about being in the Matrix. They don't realize they're in the Matrix, and so they just do normal human things. But you're talking about like if the whole world was in chaos, and the baby grew up in that chaos, he would still
I
have
I
a
think
possibility of being good.
well I think so because we're given this innate sense of what's right and what's wrong, and if we do the wrong thing, we also have an innate sense of guilt. Because I mean that's what makes it wrong is that we feel guilty about doing it, whether or not we've been told it's good or bad, right?
Well, some of these babies, I mean, this again, this is specific, but like I feel like they'll grow up in that, and if they don't have that conscience, then they'll just be like, I like this too.
But so you think there are
Like
some
if they were a
that
baby
don't
was
have that
born
conscience.
with killers.
I think God in us is kind of our conscience sometimes, and I think some people don't allow God to come in. I mean,
Yeah.
God isn't just always like, I'm always here for you. I mean, He is like that's horrible to say. What I'm trying to say is like, we gotta ask God into us. He's not just always I'm gonna do what's right and always. How am I trying to say this?
What I'm talking about isn't actually having God in us. It is what God has built into the biology of our brains.
All right, the soul. Is that what you're going towards?
Kind of like we literally, when we are born, have a comprehension of good and evil without it ever being taught to us.
Well, if we could just automatically defaulted to good, we wouldn't need God, because God's the one that gives us the strength to rise above our urges and our.
I really do
sin.
think
We don't
we-
automatically default to anything. The only reason we quote unquote default to bad is because of the temptation of Satan. That's
Yeah.
Adam and Eve. They didn't need this concept of good and evil because it was just neutral. But when they became tempted, that's what swayed them that way.
Why would that change if somebody just has even more bad implied to them? I mean, wouldn't that just end up being worse for them?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they would know they were doing something wrong.
Yeah, but they know that now too, because that's why parents are like, you did the bad. Like,
Okay, so
spank
you're
that kid.
saying that we typically default to evil.
No, because I've heard people say that, and I don't like that necessarily, but I don't think we default to good either. I just feel like
I know what you're
I'm
saying.
not saying we default to good. I think we default to evil because we're tempted.
yeah.
But we understand, even though there's no context for it, we understand that what we're doing is wrong.
Yes, I
And
agree.
the feeling of guilt is what draws us to good, right? So like that's why once we do something evil, we actually understand that good is actually better, right?
Yeah.
So like we want to go that direction.
Well, yeah. How do you explain people though that like do bad and don't really have a conscience for it? Are they?
Yeah, I look at little kids, and sometimes I just see innate evil in them, but that's because they've never been taught good. Like, think about it. Orphans, that were abused and sexually abused and whatever, like,
But that they've been influenced.
by evil, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to VR world. If there was nobody good in the VR world, they're all
Yep.
evil people, and then you had a baby that grew up in that world, do you think he'd be evil or good?
In the real world,
No, in the free VR world, because we're only using it as an example.
I think he'd be evil, but I think he would know that he's doing something wrong.
I don't think so because
I
that's
don't
the
either.
norm.
I don't think he would know.
Well, what I believe is that we're born with a sense of right and wrong, and if we do something wrong, we will feel the guilt.
Well, how do you explain like certain civilizations where they would mutilate their aggressors? They would kill other tribes just because they stepped into the wrong territory, like stuff like that. Aggression, murder, like
Yeah.
And think about like other cultures where something is considered very bad to them that we do just normally. We don't have guilt for those things. It's just the perceived bad thing. It's just perceived bad in that other culture. Or even like back in the day, buffets now would probably be considered gluttony, and yet we'll go eat and stuff ourselves and be fine about it. And we're Christians, so like I think relative to like where they're at, they're just gonna feel like this is what the world is. So this is. But however, I think God will, and I'm gonna actually probably agree with you because I think God will convict their hearts at that point.
Exactly.
But then they can just push that away just as easily as
Well,
anything.
and that's how it's justified that these people in remote villages that have never heard of God are still sent to hell because that sounds really cruel, but that is because they've been given, they were created by God. They've been given this sense of right and wrong. They should be able to innately do the right thing.
But they have a choice ultimately. And like I agree with you that they're going to eventually have that guilty feeling, but they can just push that aside, suppress it. That's what humans do best, and keep doing what they're doing and not care anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, after you push something away enough, you just kind of goes away. God's always there with open arms for you. And like I said earlier, I couldn't figure out how to say it, but I do want to reiterate that God is always open to us. I mean, God loves us more than anything, and he can look past the worst of sins. But if we're not going after God, God can't make us
Yeah.
come to him and do the right thing. He can only provide us the opportunity. And
Yeah.
like that's a hard thing with like somebody in Africa that's secluded from the world and even religion. Like how do they ever do that? Well, God probably works with them in a different way, and it might be just as easy for them to know God as me, who has 10 churches within a mile radius of him, as them, because their culture is different, their hearts are different, and God can work to them in his own way. But just as easily they can say no, just like somebody like me could just say no.
Yeah.
And decide another
I just
path.
think that in order for good and evil to exist, we have to have a basis for that, and I think that basis comes at birth. I think it is inside of all of us when we were born.
Yeah, we have
in order
the
to have the
capacity
basis
to do both good and evil.
Yeah.
But
Well-
the thing is, and like you were saying, I think the reason we always do evil is because we're always tempted by the devil, and that's why once you start going down the evil path and you don't care about the good path, that's why you just keep going down that path because it feels good, and you're always being chased by the devil and always being told to go down that wrong path.
And that's why I see VR in the future as a problem, because it's an escapist thing. Like you
Yeah.
go in there and you can do whatever you want, be bad, and I feel like the conviction level is going to be a lot lower because you can justify to yourself, say, well, this is just a game. I'm not
Yeah.
actually doing these things.
But
But
yeah, I agree
That's-
with
Then
that.
that brings
but
in a whole lot of other
what
stuff.
if- what if-
like, think about porn, for instance.
yeah,
Like, I'm not cheating on my girlfriend.
that's absolutely
the
cheating
ba-
against VR.
That's
I mean,
basically the VR, right?
even regular porn is cheating.
Well, the thing is, like,
in a way.
this might be the case a year after we figure out this technology. But what about after this technology exists for 100 years? Do we default back to, like, we basically treat VR like the real world? Like, there's no murder. Like we have the same laws basically in VR.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, why do we have these laws to begin with? Why did we as a human race, figure out civilization as we have? I think that would all happen over again in VR.
I think if VR ever was actually like completely, what is it called when it's like completely engulfing? I think
Okay.
hold on.
I just want to bring something.
Hold on,
Are we
hold
talking
on.
about?
Let me just finish what I'm
All
saying.
right,
I'm making a point.
Sorry.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
I think if it ever gets to the point where it completely just takes over your life, that it's going to change everything. And I think it'll either have to be removed or there'll have to be some kind of big adaptation. But like, I don't think it's anything that we could imagine because it's
Well,
just,
if it ever happens, it's not going to be removed. I think if it happens, it happens.
but it might bring on something like devastating. That's why I was saying like at the beginning, I feel like one day just something progressive is just going to destroy everything
Yeah.
because we're just messing with stuff we don't understand.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead, Hunter.
What I was going to ask you before you made that point is, are we talking specifically about a VR system where it's just me in my own little world and it's like Minecraft? And
That's
if I,
way different.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to ask. Like, if
So you're
you were
talking about
given your own world,
the opposite of that is you interacting with everybody else in the world.
yeah. So I think it would be a lot more convicting for you to be in a world VR, but have other people in there too. Like, if we were together
Yeah.
in a VR world,
Yeah.
I would not do anything like, basically like, that would jeopardize our relationships.
Yeah, that's true.
But like, maybe some other people would, like, if they weren't looking. You know, like, oh,
Yeah.
let's talk about, like, if you were given the opportunity to go to your own world, like it was completely white, and then you made everything green and luscious and beautiful, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're like, what does it look like on fire? Make it on fire, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing, like pure destructive, creative thought process.
What I think when it comes to this all immersive VR setting, we're gonna carry over a lot of our ideals. Like if I'm in a VR world with all my friends and family, I would like to say that I'm not gonna go murder anybody because I'm gonna carry over these principles of like I don't want my friends to think I'm a murderer.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in a world where it's just you.
When it's just you,
you
there's
left
no,
your own devices.
then that's just like playing a video game.
But let's go back to what we were talking about with like porn and stuff. You're left to your own devices.
Well, what you're talking about there exists today. That already exists.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, let's give it even more of an example. Like, you had the power to create anything visually. Like, if you had the
Ooh.
power to create a woman, like, oh, let's
Yeah.
say I want Jennifer Aniston here, boom, or I want Scarlett Johansson. Ooh, I want all three. I want Jennifer, Scarlett, and
So what's the question?
Jessica. Like, the point is, when is it going to be, like, I feel like if it ever gets to that point, that people will stop caring what they do in the real world, and they just give in to their sinful desires in that
Yeah,
world.
but we can already do that now. We can just go watch porn.
I know, but I'm talking about even like people that like killing, for example. They go and just kill, like, they create these massive
Well, that could be a
cities.
good thing, right?
A good thing, or it could. It's the same point as like.
If you know you have like, say you want to murder a bunch of people, and you have this place you can go do that and get the feeling that you're doing that. What would be the benefit of doing it in the real world anymore? Because in the real world there are consequences.
The point of that is not to say what would you do in the real world or in the fake world. It's bringing back the thing about God. Like, what would He think about that?
Oh, I think if they're going to this fake world in order to fulfill these murderous desires, I think that's still a sin. I think you're still murdering people
Okay, so
because
now,
because it's all about what's going on in your head.
yeah, and it's like escapism, like Sid was saying, but it gets to a point where that escapism becomes like a place where you can give in to everything.
I think too that there's gonna, if this does happen, like, it may not completely change everything. I mean, we might adapt to it. I mean, I guess that's possible. I just see it as
I
so
truly believe that
disruptive.
there will be like more people like
But
creatively.
Yeah, I think religion will step up and be a bigger part because in order to live in a world like that and deny those what's it called? Those
Desires?
desires, like,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to have a strong faith. And I feel like it's gonna become more important to people because it's gonna be so like black and white now. It's like, oh, he's on this, he's doing that. Like, it's not like, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I
But
feel like the only solution to any problems that persist that it would bring up is what they did in Ready Player One, where it's literally like on Tuesdays and Thursdays you literally can't access it.
Yeah.
Because if you can literally just live in it all the time, we fall apart as a society, I think.
Yeah.
That's the way my mind immediately imagines it. But then Hunter was talking about like having this blank canvas,
Well, the reason
and
I
I
said
could
that,
see it becoming like the next Microsoft Office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this, hop into your X program like we do with Word to just type. Like, that's how you create now.
Yeah.
And like that, talking about that makes the future like so much brighter because, like anything in life, something that's good could also be horrible. And we've been focusing on like the bad aspect of VR, but like imagine all the application. Like, we could actually physically do mathematics. Like, it's not just on a computer anymore. We could materialize mathematics and work in it with completely
Yeah.
different.
It'd be a whole new learning experience. But my point would be like,
I just find that fascinating.
my question would be like, do we have enough hope in humanity, like, to not choose evil over good? Like look at Westworld.
No,
Have you seen
humanity.
Westworld?
We're all like,
We're doomed.
yeah. Honestly,
Okay. All right. Because I had that same in my mind. I was like, if we were given that right now, I guarantee you there would be a lot more people doing evil things than good things.
and I agree with that.
And I look at Westworld, like a bunch of rich people go to like a Western society where they can do whatever they want because they're all robots. So they don't care if they kill somebody, they rape somebody, they I don't know, whatever else you can do bad. Like
Yeah.
But like watching that, when I watched the first episode of Westworld, I was disgusted at those people. Like it's like, why would these people want to go to this world and murder and rape these people? And why are these women like, yeah, husband, go rape that woman? Like they're okay with it. It's like that's disgusting to me.
Yeah, but
And
there's
so
people like
in the
that.
future, I'm still gonna be disgusted by it. And yeah, there's people like that, but they're already like that.
But how much more people are there like that than us?
I don't know.
And then there's the desensitizing thing where like,
Desensitizing.
as you see it, it gets like you won't be as disgusted
Yeah.
after the 100th time. Especially friends talking about it. But is it okay if I change a little bit here?
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about like what I'm excited about for the future.
Yeah, that was all about what Hunter was
Sorry,
excited.
I was just really.
No.
I wanted to talk
I enjoyed it.
real quick before we move on, this is why we were talking about it a while ago. Like in all the movies about the future, it's always doom and gloom. But this is why, because everybody when they
Yeah.
think about the future, kind of goes into pessimist mode, where like what
Yeah.
could go wrong, you know?
Yeah. It's fun to think about what can go wrong because
I want to know what will go
I kind
right,
of
man.
get
like,
bored talking about what can go right. Like I don't
I
know,
never
like,
talk about what will get right. All I ever hear is like that would be terrible for us.
Yeah. Well, for
Yeah,
the
that's
record, the way I want us all to die, if the future kills us, which it has to because
Well, I mean,
time is going to
If
kill
the
us.
future as a
Kill us.
concept.
So if whatever the future brings
I'm
us,
just gonna get an ice
if it's
bath.
doom and gloom, I hope it's aliens. Just putting that out there.
That's scary, man. I do not
that
hope
is
it's alien.
No, heck no. That's the one
If
fear
you
I
had
have.
if you had to choose between being blown up and having aliens come down and just shoot us, what would you choose?
Blown up 100%. That you just blow, you
Whoa,
just
what
die.
kind of blown up are we
Aliens is
talking
like
about?
terrifying.
Either way, you're gonna die,
What kind of aliens are we talking
and
about?
your
Like, what
emotions
kind of-
aren't even gonna be factored into anything.
Are we talking about the
Yes, they
supernova
are,
of the sun
because
and we all burn up?
when you
and
see the aliens
go
come
crisp?
down, fear comes upon you.
But that fear dies with you, and then
But
you
how
can
long
actually
does-
see aliens and be like
like,
this
"Yes, they're
awesome scene.
But how
like-
long does it take
boom!
the aliens to kill me?
Well, it depends if they take
Alright,
you and
we're-
probe you or not.
What kind of are we talking
Exactly. What would you want that to happen to you?
about? Are you?
No.
Are we talking about like what are we talking about? Independence Day aliens where they just literally come and kill
Whatever,
us for no reason?
whatever your mind wants to imagine.
I
just
want to
think it would be
believe in
exciting.
aliens that are like helping us. Because why would
Yeah,
they
me
want to
too.
kill us? If they were way smarter than us,
Well, if
then
they're
why would they kill us?
if
Me
they're
too.
but even if they're not smart, if they're anything like us, I think they wouldn't kill. We're not going to go to another planet and kill a bunch of aliens.
Yeah.
Like that's not what humans would do.
Yeah.
So
Well,
why do we think
because
aliens would do that?
The theory is you have to reach a certain civilizational point to travel
Yeah.
space.
And what if we get there before they do?
What if we're the what? That's another.
What if
thing.
we're the most advanced race?
Yeah. What if we're the most advanced race?
What if we're the only
we're
race?
the aliens?
What if we're the only race? What if?
Not like
That's
being
totally
alien.
fine too. Like
Yeah. Well, okay. I was getting to what I wanted the future to be like. I was just making a statement that I think it'd be fun to die to aliens, as a way.
fun
die.
to die to aliens.
If the future, if science fiction's gonna kill us, then aliens over an explosion or the sun melting us or something is.
I would rather take a meteor and know it's coming
That's
20
not
days.
exciting. That's even worse than aliens to me, because aliens are just they show up and they're like, pew pew. Then
You think that, Sid, but when you get a probe stuck up your butt, you're gonna be like, "Oh my God!
why
did
do
I
you think
say
that
this?"
aliens are just want to probe us? Like that's
Because
just
what do we
science
do to
Because
pigs?
that's what we're gonna do
What
to
do we do to
them.
animals? We probe them. We stick tags on them. We let them run in
No,
the jungle.
we would-
we put a tag on him. Let's stick a thing up his butt and see.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna do to
They
us.
do
They're
all-
gonna take us all back
Take
to their home
everything we've
planet.
ever done to an animal, and you do it to yourself.
Or it would be like Planet of the Apes, the book where they try to get to know the person. Well, actually, that they just locked him up.
Yeah.
Hold on. Maybe they just get to know us and like figure out our language.
Listen,
and
if
then
they
we
want to do
talk
that,
them.
they'd already known by
That's
that. 'cause
fine,
they
but
could
you're
do
saying
that without
you're talking
letting
about
us know it.
death.
No, I'm not saying that's the only way aliens can interact with us. I'm just saying if we were to die, and aliens were evil, that would be the funnest way to go.
Wait,
I don't
what?
understand how you're coming to that conclusion.
World annihilation. Think that. What
Yeah.
what are your options?
Have you seen the Tom
implosion,
Cruise movie?
explosion?
Have you seen the Tom Cruise
meteor? The sun dies.
movie? What is it? War of the Worlds?
Yeah.
It
Have you
depen-
seen War of the Worlds? Please tell
It-
me that you want to die that way. You
It
wanna
depends
get-
on if we have a warning about it too. Like if I know that the world's gonna explode in 30 days, like no, I don't want that. I would rather aliens come down and just kill us.
You want to be over with quickly.
Yeah,
All right.
whatever's the quickest way out is the way I want
The
it. 'Cause
sun
I just don't. I
burning
just don't
up,
want to
that's
have
the
that
quickest way.
fear.
Okay, so that whole statement was just fun for me. Like, I'm not actually like, I don't want to die.
I don't
so-
want to do aliens because
All
I've
right.
seen all the War of the Worlds movies where the aliens like take their blood.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah, they're
it's
just
terrifying.
fascinating. Okay, the future I want is one that is extra Earth, like outside of the Earth. I want to go to other planets. I want to have
Extraterrestrial.
Like, I really
is
like-
that the right thing? No.
I really like cars. Like, I think cars are just cool, and like I can't wait to have a spaceship and like talk about the
So you
specs on
want a
my spaceship.
Jetsons life, right? The Jetsons.
And I just want like even if it's not me, like I just want to hear, oh, the first humans landed on Mars, or oh, we found a new planet, or oh, we found a way to travel through space at 10 times the rate, and now it's practical to go explore. Like,
I gotta be
I
honest.
just think that's exciting.
I would love to be a space traveler. Like
Yeah.
just a.
I want to be Captain Kirk, man.
I want to be.
I want to be a colonizer, man.
What's his
My
name?
family and me.
There's actually books about colonizers, like they are like space cowboys.
Yeah.
I love space cowboys. They're awesome. Like
Yeah.
the cowboy roguish like anti-hero that but in space, like that's awesome.
Yeah, if you're the type of guy who thought it'd be cool to, back in the day with Lewis and Clark, go settle the West, like
Yeah.
same thing
Well,
with the space.
I think that's one of our innate desires as a species is to explore.
more to conquer, I would say.
Yeah, to conquer. But like, look at the West and how it was explored first by Lewis and Clark, and then people were like, "Let's move out there. It's way better opportunities." And then we conquer. Like, I feel like at first it's like
Well, we already
curiosity.
owned it at that point, so we didn't really conquer.
Yeah,
We
well,
just bought it.
We just bought it. Like, oh, we'll buy it. Oh,
Yeah,
you
that's
own
what we're
our
gonna do with
property.
planets. Like, oh, no one owns this.
Yeah, we're already doing
I'll
it.
give this arbitrary
Yours
amount
is-
of money to this arbitrary person now on the planet.
Or you just stake it, right? That's how they used to.
That's how
do
they
it.
Well, I guess
name-
that would happen with if no one owns it.
like naming stars after people. What if some alien was like figured that out? Like, whoa, it's my
Just-
planet. What? The?
What if we just get like a bunch of cease and desists, like a bunch of from the space lawyers, and they're like, you can't own this planet. That's already owned, or that
Oh,
star.
man. That you know what that
I want-
reminds me of?
I
That,
wanted to. Good.
the movie about what is it called? Intergalactic Guide to the Galaxy.
You mean the movie that our podcast is like quasi named after?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
that one? That reminds me of the logger alien looking things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to be like Star Trek, where most of the planets get along, and then you have the one species or the one aliens that are like at war with everybody else.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
Oh, and we have that. This isn't based on Star Trek, but that one planet that's like Toby from The Office that everybody just hates. Like,
Yeah.
they're just weird looking. They have slime oozing out of their skin. You know?
I would just love to explore. Like, have you ever played like a game like
Like
my
Skyrim?
favorite? No, like
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect. Yeah, the new Mass Effect. I know it's trash, but like the funnest part about that was exploring different planets and traveling through space. Like,
Yeah.
it was so.
I don't
cool.
know. Like, I don't know if I'd want to do that in real life. Like, I think it'd be too scary. Like,
Well, now it would be because you would have to leave your family, your
That's the
friends,
thing,
everything
man, like,
behind.
that's the biggest thing
All your
about
attachments
growing
would be
up
gone.
is being attached to people. Like all these
Yeah.
people that they're like astronauts and want to do all this stuff. Like they're either giving up, like sacrificing a lot with their family, or they're like just single dudes who are like, yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think though that things would get a lot less scary. Like I'm sure people used to look at the ocean and be like, "Man, if we ever crossed this point of the ocean,
No, they'd be like,
they-
oh my God, there's
there'd
a
be
waterfall.
a kraken that would eat me." Because like they didn't know it was out there.
Yeah,
That's how
they-
we are with space. Eventually, like I could see it
Well,
becoming just like
Yeah, I saw
our backyard. You know.
I saw a stat the other day. Like more. Well, I mean, I knew this was true, but like more people have been to the moon than have been to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
like, space talk and space exploration is really big right now, but I really do think ocean exploration is really cool too, because there's so much we don't know about the bottom of the ocean.
I agree. I feel like we've
There's
seen
so
a
many
lot
ships.
though. Like what more is there to be found? Like with space, there's so much we haven't seen, but with the ocean, like even if we saw none of the ocean, it's still like the smallest fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the outer space. You
Yeah,
know?
definitely.
Yeah. Oh, it's more
So-
fun to explore space because there's huge planets and like galaxies.
And it's
like,
also
exploding suns.
much more challenging, like
Yeah.
scientifically, I think.
Well, it's actually I would think it would be equally as challenging to go to the very bottom depth of the ocean because there's so much pressure it would just pop you like
It's
a
the same
pimple.
with space.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting is like in Journey to the Center of the Earth, where there's actually like
A
more
world within
more
a world.
inside. Well, I was actually thinking about this the other day, how I heard a story about these people that dug a really deep hole, and they got to the bottom and started hearing like screaming sounds, and so
Oh, dude.
I don't know.
Say that.
I don't know if that
Have
was
you
just.
ever, have you ever heard?
But here's the thing, like they were saying that was like hell, but I don't feel like
Oh.
hell's on Earth.
That
No,
came from
definitely
As
not.
Above, So Below. That's exactly where that came from.
Really?
Because there
Somebody-
was a movie. In
No,
Fran-
this was. I heard this when I was a kid, man. It's been.
well, it was a movie that was made basically under the catacombs of France, and they went under the catacombs.
No,
They found this entrance, and it's like you must crawl like on your belly.
Is
in
it like the entrance
of
to hell?
Yeah,
Oh.
and they go through there like they
Yeah.
just crawl under a tunnel,
Yep.
and they come out, and it's literally the same room, but everything's flip flopped,
Oh,
and so it's like as above, so below, but everything's like flip flopped.
what is
And
that
so-
saying from?
Um,
I've heard that before.
as above, so below, it shall be.
Is that like
I don't know.
Dante's
Dante's Inferno,
Is
maybe.
that what that is?
Maybe it's in the Bible. Maybe I haven't. I don't know. We could look that up.
That's what. Where did we get this concept that hell is down and heaven is up? Like, they're just two different places.
Yeah.
Right,
I
like-
think it came from the fact that when we started burying people, we had to bury people. Like the Old Testament talks about Sheol, and like
Yeah.
when you bury somebody, they go into the ground. And then I think that's where the hell came from in the underworld. It's because they were underneath the ground, so
Yeah.
they're in the underworld, and then they were like, that's where like the thing of darkness and like burning. And I don't know where fire came from though. That's one thing I don't understand. It's like,
Well, it talks about fire and brimstone in the Bible.
yeah, but that's in the New Testament. The Old Testament
Oh, yeah.
talks about just plainly like darkness and being eaten by worms.
Well, we got
and
it from the
stuff.
New Testament then.
Yeah, so I guess the New Testament.
Yeah.
But why
I
fi-
only
like-
believe in the Old Testament.
But
no.
why fire? Maybe because they were cremating people at that time. Because they would be cremating like massive amounts of dead bodies after wars.
Well, somebody went to hell in the Bible, right? And talked to somebody on Earth, like they could only get the one drop of water.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
the New Testament. But that was a
Yeah.
parable that Jesus said.
So it wasn't true. Or it wasn't like a real story.
No, it was a parable, but I mean, a parable is a parable. But I think, like hell is an actual place, but it's not like we think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like it's impossible to fathom what heaven and hell
Yeah,
are.
and I don't think you can get to it in this plane of existence. I
Yeah.
think it's like interdimensional. Like you have to go to like when we die, our souls go to like a different dimension.
Yeah.
Well, like our souls aren't made up of like matter,
Yeah.
right? So like our souls exist on a different plane.
And if you think about that like that, and you think about different dimensions, each dimension there's like apparently there's 12 dimensions, and like apparently if you think that way, then our soul could possibly be in a different dimension, and that's why we don't see it in this dimension, but we feel it, and we understand, and we have emotions, and you
That's
can't
interesting.
explain like some things that happen in the brain. Like, holy crap, they were talking about like when people die, like I was watching this thing with Morgan Freeman, and he said when people die, he didn't say this, the doctor did, that a lot of them would have experiences even when their brain was dead. Like they would be officially brain dead, but they would have these extreme experiences and then come back to life. They would be revived, and they would talk about these experiences they had. And they always say they see a bright light or they saw Jesus or something. And it's like staggeringly like a lot of times, a lot of like, what do you call those people? People that come back to life? Near-death experiences. It's staggering how many people say that. Like
Yeah.
they experience this, but their brains go dead. And so that is the end of life as we humans know it.
Yeah.
Of that person. But is that because we only see the third dimension, and that maybe there
Maybe.
is we go to the fourth dimension when we
Maybe.
like with dreams and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just been explained by
Well, if
brain
your
activity.
brain's dead, then you're not using. You're not. It's just not. It's not in your imagination.
Yeah.
It's not something you're experiencing like in a dream. It's
Yeah.
literally your experience. Your soul is experiencing it, like outside of your body. You know.
Yeah. And so yeah.
We are just our souls. Like these bodies are just like little suits. Like.
Yeah. But they're
But
different dimensions.
what's interesting about this is that like I was like, oh, we're getting off topic, but this is our future. Like eventually we're all gonna die, and we're gonna find out what happens after death.
My
And-
wallpaper on my computer it says Memento Mori. You know what that means?
Huh.
Oh, Memento
Um,
Mori. I've heard
remember
that.
you will die.
Oh yeah.
That's my wallpaper on my
Wait,
computer.
what? Isn't that what they had in like the Holocaust bases?
No,
Memento.
Memento Mori.
No,
Yeah.
but it was something along the lines of that overhanging in the Holocaust things.
Well, I changed my opinion on what I'm most excited for. I'm most excited for death. Because I mean, I'm excited to meet God. Like that's
Yeah, I but that's not the future, right? Like that could happen right now.
You want to
that
be God?
it's in our future.
All right.
The future of Earth
No,
depends
yeah.
upon God. He created.
No, I get that, but
And our future does have to consist of that because the Earth will one day not exist anymore.
but in the spirit of our conversation, like I could literally kill you right now, and you could experience that if you want.
And that would be in our future because
Oh, choke you.
Oh,
to
yeah, I
death,
know, I get that,
And
but
then let you live.
and
it's like I don't care about what happens in the future. I just want to die and meet God.
but that is the future. Like I'm just pointing out that this completely fits within our
That's
topic.
the.
No, yeah,
that's
it
not
does.
the future. That is the end point of your life. That is.
No, it is the future. Time doesn't stop when you die,
That is the final
Yes,
future.
I think it does. I don't think time exists in heaven.
but it still exists for other. Like if I died right now, you guys are
Alright.
still
Yeah,
experiencing.
This is-
it.
this
but you're
goes
not
back-
experiencing time, and so like in heaven there is no future, right? Because like time is this concept we've made up here on Earth.
Time's a restriction if
It
you think
also
about it.
goes with the
so we're
third
really
dimension.
just escaping from it.
Time,
Exactly.
space, and matter.
Because
Like,
time's what's killing us.
Yeah,
like third dimension, 3 dimensions: time, space, and matter. If we go above that, then there's no time. Think about it.
exactly. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So time doesn't exist in that. The 4th, 5th dimension. So
So
that could be a possibility. And if there is a way to.
Okay, okay.
Is it been proven that there's other dimensions?
no.
But it's a theory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can be explained with using a piece of paper.
How?
Well, this piece of paper is 2 dimensions.
That piece of paper is 3 dimensions.
Well, okay. The thing on the paper, like SpongeBob, if you drew SpongeBob, he was a 2-dimensional character.
3 dimensions.
How?
Because the lead is actually built up
That's
on the
not
page.
what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like Mario and his 2-dimensional games.
What about that though?
like that's 2 dimensions, and then 1 dimension is just I don't even know how to.
But
explain
that's
1 dimension.
different than the dimensions we're talking about.
I know, but they use it to explain 3 dimensions and 4 dimensions, and I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of related, but not. But anyways, 4 dimensions. Yeah, there's time would not be. In the
So
4th
what you're
dimension.
saying is we exit the time dimension when we die. Or we
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it could be a possibility.
we shoot up through time and we are now outside of it.
We don't shoot through time. We it's so.
We don't know what happens. Why are we trying to talk
Because
about
it's fun, okay?
This is
Fun
exactly what happens when you die. I know it.
quote
for a
it?
fact.
Quote us.
We're
on
just
this.
thinking about
You
what
shoot
could
through
happen.
time.
You fly through time like a little
Well,
jet.
so even from the perspective of people who don't believe in God and believe in an afterlife, who just think you die and it's just
Yeah.
there's nothing.
Well, every culture
the
believes
same
in
the same
afterlife.
concept. Well, no, some people don't believe in afterlife. It's the same concept
you're
where
right.
time ceases to exist to that person's quote unquote soul.
Well, if their
'Cause
soul
they're not
had
experiencing time anymore.
if their soul had nowhere to go, and I guess some people believe that there is no soul and we just die. That dies.
Yeah,
with
well, the
us.
people that don't believe in afterlife don't believe in
Okay.
souls.
Well, then
I don't think
rules
because
that
that
out.
wouldn't really make much sense.
that
'Cause,
would ghosts. That would make sense for.
I guess, and then or unless you thought your soul dies with you, I don't know. I don't know about that kind of stuff, man.
That's
Not
beyond our
versed.
pay
We're
grade.
just theorizing.
This whole episode's been a whole bunch of
Yeah.
baloney.
You think we just have talked about happy Jetson stuff, and we kind of got really delved into some things.
Man, it's just
That's fun to talk about.
I think just as humans, we fear the future because we know that everything could go wrong.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about the Jetsons, you talk about the robot maid. Like when a lot of us think about robot assistants, it's like doom and gloom. Like they're gonna take over. Like what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I guess that's probably mostly influenced by culture and society
Well,
Yeah.
why do we think they're going to take over? Because
because they're capable.
okay, so why do we think that if somebody's capable of doing that, why would we like think that?
I don't understand it either because
Is it because of what happened in the past with like?
No, we fear what we don't understand, I think, is what it comes down to.
But the thing about robotics and computer science and all that stuff is we kind of understand. We have a good grasp on that. And if someone is designing a robot that they know could like take over, why would they do that?
For fame, money.
Yeah, I guess they're not scared of it.
Yeah.
Weapon.
Some people get overconfident too, and they're like,
Skynet.
"This will never mess up." Like,
That's true.
I'm just basing this off movies I've seen, but they're always confident. Like,
With like Age of
we've
Ultron.
we've looked at every opportunity. Nothing wrong can go wrong, and then something
Yeah.
does. That's how the plot of the movies go.
Well, I think that's the thing. Like a lot of people don't understand artificial intelligence, and like even like people who have a doctorate in computer science don't grasp it.
Yeah.
All the way, you know, like how much can a computer actually teach itself? Like in Ultron, where he becomes completely sentient because he learns everything from the internet, basically. Like,
yeah,
that's a scary world. But like,
but even then, he only knows like
He
a
basically
fraction of
becomes
stuff.
the internet, doesn't he?
what?
He basically becomes the internet.
Yeah, sure.
Well, we as humans don't know anything.
He's like Google.
We're basing everything off of our tiny little perspective
Yeah,
that could literally be completely skewed. Like, if you think about it, things could be completely different than they seem, even from a logical standpoint.
yeah.
You know, if you look at Earth completely logically, we could just be wrong. If you looked at, it's like looking at a small piece of paper, like right here I have fight written down, and somebody just looks at the little line under the F. They wouldn't know that spelled fight. They'd just be like, oh, this is the line of truth. You know,
Are we even here?
I've thought about that
Is
before.
is this just a simulation?
It could be. That's the
That
Matrix
someone
plot
is
line.
living out, man.
Elon Musk thinks we're living in a simulation. I will. Anything he says, I'm just like, oh god. Like he was talking about, like he was genuinely afraid of robots taking over in the future. He's like, Skynet, totally. I was like, oh god.
Well, no, but he's the one. He's developed this like neural net thing where like
Yeah. What's he
he's
doing?
connecting things to people's brain. Well, he's not really done any real life testing, I don't think, but like trying
He
to.
said he was going to open it up in the next couple of months, and that was like a
He's
couple of months ago.
already announced it, but it's like it wasn't really a big announcement.
Oh.
Basically, the whole concept is cool, being able to control everything with our brains.
Like text
but-
messages and stuff like that.
Yeah, just like think it and it happens, right?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
like,
God.
but then the whole implication of that behind that is like, what if
How do you control that though? How do you control
what if
your
it
own
starts to
thoughts?
control you?
Oh.
Like a zombie host.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because like every thought you have and like every feeling you have is just a bunch of neurons snapping on and off.
Yeah, firing.
Which is exactly what a computer does. It just binaries on or off. So
But look at Doc Ock, like the classic example of him using the arms to help him, but they end up using him because they have
Yeah.
like the ability to control
that's
his
what I'm
brain.
saying. That's like if we could build that technology with all of the security measures in place and it was like perfect, like that'd be awesome. But then even if we know there's all the security measures, like there's still that little ounce of doubt of like this could really be a bad thing.
Yeah, what if somebody is able to like hack into the network and control other people?
that's people's biggest fear is like people hack into stuff all the time. What if somebody hacks into my brain? And but like
Oh,
the whole
God.
thing is, it shouldn't be able to control in reverse. Like the technology shouldn't be able to control your brain. Only your brain should be able to control the technology, right? Because like
Yeah, like a computer. You type on the keyboard, it doesn't type you.
but I mean, I guess it could. If it's tied into like your spinal cord, it could send impulses to your brain
To
that
kill you.
aren't coming from
I
you.
feel like it's send a shock. Like
It can make
Sword
you
Art
it can make
Online.
you feel like you're touching something and you're not because like
oh,
that's
that'd
just
be
all
freaky.
that's just all in your brain.
You could like sword SAO or whatever. Is that? No, I didn't say that.
SAO.
SAO. Yeah, like that's how they kill people in that, because they send what?
It was like but they had the helmet on.
Yeah. But is that what it's going to be? Is a helmet?
No, it's just gonna be like in your spinal cord.
Oh, I don't like the idea of that. Getting implants that control computers.
Well, a lot of people think that's like the mark of the beast, like the whole
Yeah.
medical implant thing.
Have you heard this about Alex Jones?
I don't know who Alex Jones is.
Okay, look him up because he is like all about that stuff. Like the mark of the beast. He talks like this online. He's been banned by YouTube, Twitter, Facebook,
I think I've seen him
Google, everything.
in a Vine or a meme or something.
Yeah, he literally all right, this is what happened. So this guy is a conspiracy theorist, but what's scary is like 75% of what he says is true. It's based on factual evidence, but he just spins the truth a little bit. So if you're listening, it's like he kind of over-sensualizes. He overdoes it.
Over-sensationalizes?
Over-sensationalizes everything he says, so it makes people think he's like lying. But then one day he said something about the Sandy Hook being fake, and that's not true at all. And so he got nailed for it, and everyone kicked him off. And so he lost his channel. He lost InfoWars. He lost
this
all
thing
this
with
stuff.
like, you talk about that kind of stuff, and it's like tragic events, and you're trying to use them for gain. You know, like I'm gonna come up with this conspiracy theory about this tragic event that happened. Like that's just insensitive.
Yeah, but the point of him, I don't know why I brought it up. I guess because he's talking about how the mark of the beast is coming from like Facebook and computer. Because if you look at our Facebook profiles, behind the profile itself, it's a bunch of numbers, and everyone has a specific
that's
number.
All the computers are.
Yeah,
numbers.
And so everyone has a specific number, and then like the mark of the beast, you know, like we have numbers on us. But then if you go farther and say you get an implant inside you, and you can control your Facebook with your implant. Dun, dun, dun.
I'm gonna go delete my Facebook.
It's still gonna be there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always gonna be there.
Well, I use Facebook for work, so I can't delete it.
All right. Well, we've been talking for a while, so
We've just been rambling.
I think we can do a part 2 sometime.
yeah, man. We just
In the
ramble
future, we'll do a part 2 about the future.
if we're still here.
That future.
There's a possibility that aliens might
They
take
might.
us out.
You know, they could come at any time. You know.
They're probably already here.
They're on their way,
honestly.
man.
Honestly, if they were smart enough, they would just infiltrate first. If you want to be really smart about it, I would infiltrate, learn everything I can.
Maybe they already
leave,
have.
And then come back, infiltrate.
There's a distinct possibility that we're already living amongst them.
No, there's conspiracy theories that they exist. Because I worked with this guy.
It's not
when
the
I was
fact
young.
they don't exist. It's the fact that if they exist, within our own
he
planet.
told me like, and he was serious. Like he was getting real with me. He really leaned in and was like talking to me like it was life and death. And he was talking to me about how they're among us. He said there was like 3 distinct classes of aliens.
Oh God, no! He got this from X-Files.
No, and then I looked it up on the internet, and it's like there's stuff about it. And
a lot of people. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about that.
But yeah,
and they
You're right.
he believed that they were already among us, that they had their own agendas. And
well, that was the whole plot for the X-Files. That's the only thing I'm saying that way.
Oh,
but
okay.
he could be talking about something completely different that he
Scary stuff, man.
think of.
that's why we need to be
like,
saying like good things about the aliens. Like we're not gonna come kill you. We want to be friends.
They're gonna see all our movies and be like, they want war.
Yeah.
This is a signal.
My dad thinks that there's definitely aliens because of the technology and how it jumped in leaps and bounds.
Well, he lived through
right
that
after the 60s.
transition.
Yeah, he was born in 1960, so he lived through the 70s, and that was all about aliens in the 80s and stuff.
The thing about that is that the advancement of technology makes sense because of whichever law it is, Moore's law, where the number of like microprocessors we can doubles every 4 years or whatever. That's just how. So like the only reason there was a huge increase in like the 60s and 70s is we just hit that point where that number doubled to an exponent to a big enough amount, and then every 4 years after that, it's an exponential growth type thing. So, I mean, the advancement of technology, it's going to keep happening faster. 4 years from now, it'll be doubled. And 8 years from now, it'll be quadrupled.
Oh.
It's craziness.
Look at our phones.
Well, that was fun.
They freaking went crazy in in high school. I remember the start of high school, I had a flip phone. The end of high school, I had like a freaking flat-faced edge glass something. I can't even explain.
Mega Mach 3.
The phones we had in
Android X.
the phones we had in middle school were more powerful than the computers that sent the first people to the moon.
Oh my God! Think about.
All right,
Think about that.
y'all all
think about that.
We could keep rambling on.
We
forever
have
and ever.
computers
Yeah.
that send people into the moon in our pockets. In our pockets.
Well, what do you guys think is going to happen in the future? Put down your conspiracy theories in the comments.
Go to the
I honestly
comments.
believe that we'll die of natural asteroid causes.
Alien
Because
causes.
every 2,000 years, a giant asteroid hits the Earth. and wipes
an
out
alien asteroid.
an extinction. I believe that we'll go through an extinction.
I just don't want to be
period.
here. I want to
Yeah.
be dead and gone
Yeah.
before this
Yeah,
happens.
hopefully we will, but we're long overdue. For
You know,
an
but it's sad.
extinction
It's
event.
sad to think like
No, we're not.
We are. Look
Why
at
do
the.
you
because
listen,
the
we
data
can't get
on-
into this right now because
The
we have to
data
end the episode.
on the amount of asteroids that's hit the Earth. Look at the moon. It doesn't have an atmosphere, but it looks like a cheese ball, whatever it is. A cheese
It doesn't
ball.
have the gravity that our Earth has.
It doesn't have the atmosphere. That's what protects us. The atmosphere.
Isn't it like
Is
the
what burns
gravitational
up-
pull that like pushes stuff away from us?
What? No, no. It pulls
The
us
Earth,
to
the Earth
it.
has a lot of. No, but
No. The
what am I
moon-
trying to say?
The moon blocks stuff from hitting us because it has its own gravity, so it pulls it in instead of like pushing it away. So if you're talking about the moon having gravity and pushes it away, yes, because it would go around the moon and shoot, it would slingshot off somewhere else. But most of the
Okay.
time, asteroids hit the
I see
moon
what you're
because
saying.
it's like a giant shield.
Well, we've been hit before. I mean, we have craters to prove it.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying. Like we're due for another one sometime soon.
there's no due date for that kind of thing.
There's not, but like
But it happens all the time, and they're just not big enough.
think of the probability of like rolling like a d20. The probability of us, we've rolled every number except a 7. It gets higher and higher of us rolling a 7.
That's not how this works.
Well, what would be a good example of that?
I would have to actually explain probability to you because I don't think you've ever understood probability.
I haven't. Explain it, please.
If you roll a d20 and you're hoping to roll a 7, you have a 1 in 20 chance. The next time you roll it, you don't have a higher chance to hit a 7
Okay,
just
you're
because you
right.
roll it the
well,
second
what
time.
am I thinking of? I can't.
I
What
don't
am I
know.
thinking of?
You've made up your own mathematical
No, I'm
concepts in your
repeating
head.
what scientists have said. Like it's the same thing with the volcano stuff. The longer it sits there without exploding, the more like Yellowstone, it's going to explode someday.
Probabilistically, yes. A meteor or an asteroid is going to hit the Earth. A huge one.
Before we meet aliens,
But who knows? It could be in a million years.
before the sun explodes. But the Yellowstone could explode.
It's all in God's timing.
A
See,
giant
and like I was
thing
saying,
hurts
like I
the-
just hope I'm going, but like it's so sad because I want to have kids and they're gonna want to have kids. So like eventually one of our generations is going to experience this craziness.
Well, we
Yeah,
don't. Well, let's not
that's
leave
true.
it on that note though. That's really like depressing.
Our
So as I was
great-great-grandkids
saying,
The
are
future's
gonna all
bright,
die.
man. The future's bright.
Listen, we live in the short term. Make the best out of your life. Love your family, and don't stress about what's in the future. Put that out of your mind.
It's so far away. It
Yeah.
might be tomorrow, but it's so far away.
Listen, just take care of yourself. Love, live, trust God. You'll be fine.
Everything's gonna be okay.
1,762 minutes.
Okay.
What does
oh
that
my
have to
gosh,
do with this?
I don't
guys,
know what-
we're really drawing this out.
All right. Well, that was fun.
That was
a
fun.
random episode.
Very random.
And-
Thank you if you actually listened this whole time. We've been.
I hope you
chatting.
did.
I'm sure we said a lot of wrong things, but these are all just like coming from our brains. We're not experts.
We're just
or
talking, okay?
Yeah.
We're just talking.
We're just having fun, having a conversation.
All right. Well, we'll talk back at you next week.
All right. Speed.
And-
Godspeed.
Godspeed
and
and
good
good
conversation.
conversations. Thanks for listening to this episode of Young Adults Guide to Planet Earth. We hope you enjoyed the conversation.
If you want to join the conversation, make sure to join us on Twitter at Young Adult Guide and Instagram at Young Adults Guide.
And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell if you want to be notified. Like, comment, and join the conversation.
Talk to you next week.